CEO Wisdom Pod with Brad DiPaolo, live from New Brunswick. Beautiful place, very quiet place, quiet Canada. He's quietly but hyper-focusedly, if that's even a word, building CandidateHub.io. And it's like HubSpot, but for recruitment. So we're going to talk more about that today. Podcast brought to you by podfire.com, my company. If you want to start, scale, or be a host at one of these great podcasts, get insights from your guests, build a community in the back end, get subscribers, get leads, get clients. Podcasting is quite amazing. We're also going to talk about podcasting today with Brad because he has his own podcast. Brad, can you introduce yourself to, yourself first, and also introduce ourselves to Candidate Hub and your podcast?
Sure. So my name is Brad DiPaolo. I am the founder of CandidateHub. I come from a background of sales and marketing, recruitment. I have sort of gone from retail sales into more sort of enterprise sales and a lot of recruitment along the way. So, when the pandemic hit, it pretty much shut the recruitment industry down. So I had a chance to sort of talk to recruiters and say, what is it that you're missing? What is it that you would like? If you could wave a magic wand and have anything you want, what would that be? And overwhelmingly, people told us that, they just want to have qualified candidates in their inbox every day. And so I got thinking about that, and we do that for salespeople. We do that, but we provide leads for salespeople using lead scoring and marketing automation and various tools like that. So why can't we do that for recruiters? So I started studying how we do that and the technology behind it, and brought that technology to the recruitment space. Sort of kind of a e-commerce meets B2B lead scoring kind of approach. And if you look at companies like Amazon, Amazon can tell you what to, I'm sorry. Amazon can tell you what to buy and when to buy it. They can personalize, their shopping experience. So why can't we do that for recruitment teams and recruiters and candidates and provide a much better experience? So that's kind of how Candidate Hub came about.
Interesting. Who do you sell to precisely? Like what types of business would use your platform?
We focus more on enterprise clients, a lot in healthcare, very niche staffing firms. Ideally, it's companies that have a large amount of roles available for a niche audience. If you're hiring one or two salespeople a year, it's not really worth it. It's kind of like putting a Ferrari engine in a Kia. But if you're hiring thousands of nurses a year, you're hiring thousands of data scientists a year, or hundreds of data scientists a year, it makes it a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. So really anybody who's got a finite audience of candidates, that's doing more higher volume hiring.
Right. And any industries in particular? Because, we know that in Canada, health and nurses and hospitals, that's been quite the trend lately since COVID. Any other industries you're seeing growing and in need of this platform to recruit better team members?
Yeah, information technology. So anything, around like I said, data scientists, software engineers, those types of things, engineering itself. Really, like I said, those sort of, it can be applied to any area where you're hiring multiple people of the same types of roles. Because what happens, we see this over and over again. You put out a job ad, you attract candidates, you source candidates, you get a bunch of people in, you shortlist them. you then hire one or two, and then you take the other 5, 10, 15, 20, or 100 names that you've gotten, and you throw them in your applicant tracking system to never be heard from again, unless you end up buying them again by getting them to apply a second time. If we did this in sales marketing, we'd lose our jobs. We took all of those cold leads and just threw them out, we would lose our jobs, right? We got to keep nurturing them. We got to keep going back to them until they eventually buy. So, companies that have large databases of candidates that have shown previous interest, that's a ton of valuable data that we want to help them to leverage, and we want to help them to nurture those candidates back into active, interested people for their jobs.
Right. And what's next for you guys this year? Like, what do you want to focus on for growth?
Well, one of the things that we really are focusing on moving forward is being able to retarget candidates. Appcast, which is a large programmatic advertising company that is actually has headquarters in our backyard in Fredericton, New Brunswick. They put out a study that showed that 92% of candidates that visit job postings and job ads leave without applying. That's a ton of lost opportunities, and recruiters are not built to be marketers. So, getting into Facebook pixels and LinkedIn insight tags and all that stuff is a little complicated. So converting those visitors using social media retargeting and those other tactics that we would see in e-commerce, for example, is a little complicated for them. And so it's not a tool that is used very often. So we've got access to Facebook APIs and LinkedIn APIs that we're building out to be able to retarget those anonymous visitors that have visited your websites and stuff. We can do retargeting now on your website, and we can retarget anybody that visits your website that we know through email addresses and stuff. We can build out custom audiences and social media. But one area that we really want to differentiate with is our ability to retarget those anonymous visitors that come to career sites, look at job ads, and just don't apply to them.
What do you say of going outbound to find a candidate and someone that already has a job, and instead of targeting someone that will come to you? Isn't the quality of these candidates higher if I go to them and I check their backgrounds and be really specific? Or is inbound better and just publishing a job post out there?
Well, the same as in sales and marketing, right? You can't grow a company with only an inbound strategy or only an outbound strategy. You need both. And so what happens in marketing, in recruitment and doing outbound, for example, there's great tools out there like Hire Easy, which is a fantastic tool for doing outbound outreach. You can do Boolean searches of their profiles and reach candidates. And oftentimes recruiters will go to LinkedIn to do outbound searches just because LinkedIn's more up to date than their current applicant tracking system. But, I may reach out to 50 candidates and 10 of them will reply and show interest, and I have conversations. Those are 10 really strong candidates, and that's great. But the other 40, maybe they open my email, maybe they don't, maybe they look at my careers page, maybe they don't. But where our tool can augment an outbound strategy is those candidates that you've engaged in an outbound outreach. If they don't reply to you and engage with you right away, well, now you can put them into nurture sequences and see what they're doing. And, it just may be that the time isn't right for them. And so now you put them into your inbound strategy and try to bring them, when the time is right. So they may come back in 2 weeks, they may come back in 6 months or a year. and say, this company showed interest in me before. I'm now ready for a job, but let's go back and see if they're still hiring. So, if you can pick that up, gee, I thought Charles was great for this position, and I reached out and he didn't reply to me, but then all of a sudden, no, Charles has been on my career site looking at jobs. Maybe I should give him a call.
Right. But you see the role of AI playing into all of this. Are jobs going to be chopped? Is this going to enhance your software to reach out to help get better folks and at scale? How have you been using it?
Well, I think AI is going to change jobs more than it's going to chop jobs. It's AI is going to do those tasks that people don't want to do, or just will allow them to focus on other things. Where we see AI in the future of CandidateHub is being able to use AI to pull all of the information that we're gathering on a candidate with their interactions and the content that they're clicking on and the stuff that they're showing interest in, and being able to use AI to craft really highly personalized conversations. So if we can use generative AI to generate those conversations, those emails, and things like that. We're playing around with Chat GPT a little bit in that ability to craft a more personalized email. It's not quite where we want it to be yet, so it's not something we're launching. But that, to me, that's, if we could take AI and use it to sort of analyze a candidate's behavior, predict, these are the patterns that we're seeing, that if a candidate is engaging with content A, B, and C, then they're really, good chance that you can convert them right now, kind of thing. And then communicate with them with extreme personalization, because the AI bot will be able to understand everything that they've done and what's on their profile and things like that, and create more personalized messaging, so that they can get further down the funnel before they talk to a recruiter. Because same as job shoppers today, or consumers today, job shoppers are very similar to consumers. We don't necessarily want to talk to a salesperson right off the bat when we're shopping for cars or looking at houses or anything like that. We don't want to talk to a salesperson right off the bat anymore. We want to go online and do our research and study things, and we may have questions, but we'll go to forums, or we'll do this and we'll do that. But if we can have a conversational bot that will respond to us based on the way we're engaging and provide us with the information we're looking for, then we can drive those candidates down that funnel, so that the recruiters are spending time talking to the ones that are highly engaged and are ready to make a change in their career and are really interested in working for that company. So it'll make their job a lot easier. They're not going to be required to sell as much. They're really going to be focused just on, collecting the information and putting getting that body into the funnel.
How many users do you have right now?
Well, we're still a young company, so we have probably about a dozen users so far. We kind of we revamped our strategy early in 2023 to focus more on healthcare and enterprise. We'd worked on a couple of smaller industries, thinking that they would have the ability and whatnot, and they all loved the product. They just automation takes time, it takes effort to set up, and you have to man it. So we ended up seeing companies falling in love with it, but just not being able to pull it off and put the time into it that it takes to make it work. So where enterprise clients really have the resources on the team to focus on that marketing efforts and those strategies and building and A/B testing and all that stuff that's required. So we kind of sort of scrapped it and started over again, I guess, early in 2023. So we're a young company who is pivoting and learning as we go.
Right. And what's your objective? Do you want to keep it small? Do you want to raise money? Do you want to go more the lifestyle business route? What's your objective with that one?
Well, we're actually actively raising now. We're doing a pre-seed round now. Our vision is to build a strong company over the next few years with some good revenue and potentially exit in 3 to 5 years. We're looking to partner up with some of the key players in the industry like Greenhouse, Smart Recruiters, things like that. There was a competitor of ours that came out in 2017 called CandidateHub, which we kind of modeled ourselves after. For those in the industry we mentioned we're sort of the HubSpot for recruitment, but for those in the industry that have been around this type of technology and know CandidateHub, we call ourselves the younger, sexier version of CandidateHub. They exited to iCIMS last year. We're kind of trying to follow a very similar path to what Adam Gordon did with CandidateHub.
Interesting. The podcast, tell me a bit more about it. Why did you started it? And have you reached your expected goal so far with it?
Well, I'm a big fan of Chris Walker from oh geez, I can't even think of the name of his company anymore. It's because it's been a while since I've looked at it.
I'll get it. I had him on my pods.
I'm a big fan of Chris.
Something Refine Labs.
Refine Labs. That's it. Yeah. I watch some of his stuff and demand gen marketing and things like that. And, I like to talk. So, I like talking to people. And so I just kind of went in on it one day. Like he was talking about how everybody should have a podcast. And, I kind of just went all in on it and said, you know what, I'm going to start a podcast. I did some search and found that the name Disrupting Recruitment was available. I don't know how. Disruptingrecruitment.com was available. I don't know how. So I jumped on it, and that's what we called our podcast. And so we're really just looking to talk to innovators in the industry, people who are doing things a little differently. What are they doing? How are they doing it? And what successes are they seeing? What challenges have they come up along the way? And really, my two goals for the podcast were, one, to try to help educate the industry, just because TA is a little bit behind when it comes to marketing compared to sales and e-commerce and industries like that. And to learn myself along the way, knowing that I'd be talking to, some real industry experts. We've had some pretty good guests like Tim Sackett, James Whitelock, James Ellis. We've had some great guests in the recruitment industry on our podcast. And so we've learned lots along the way. And we've had, we have had clients that have come to us and said, well, I heard this on your podcast and it got me thinking. And so I started looking into things and whatnot, or, I've been following you for a little bit and I heard this episode of your podcast. And so it does come up a bit in terms of how clients come to us, because we do have on our forums on our website sort of how did you hear from us, which is a Chris Walker suggested, how to capture proper attribution. But so it does come up. So we're only 2 years into it, maybe 26 or 27 episodes deep. So it's still it's a young podcast as well, but I love doing it. I love talking to people, just trying to share my thoughts and my ideas and comparing it to how other people think in the industry and trying to educate and communicate as much as I can.
Right. How do you get the best guests on your pod, and how many of them do you get on a weekly basis?
I get my guests by really just connecting with people on LinkedIn and that that I respect or that have shared some knowledge that I agree with or find thought provoking. I don't necessarily always agree with it, but if they have a good point and can articulate it, I'll just try to reach out to them and connect with them, and eventually I'll ask them if they want to be on the podcast. Or I've had some podcasts that I've been on that I've invited those hosts onto our podcast, so we put out a episode every couple of weeks. So I'm usually trying to record once a week or so, just to stay a little bit ahead of the schedule. And we, of course, as a podcaster, you probably get this all the time too, those podcast services where they reach out and say, hey, we have this great guest that would be fantastic for your podcast. Yeah, we'd be interested in speaking to this person. And we do invite some of those guests on once in a while if they seem relevant. It's kind of like at the stage that we're at with our podcast, we're kind of, it's almost like a sales process. We're just trying to connect and build a relationship and invite them, and hopefully they'll come on and have something meaningful to share. So.
All right. 2 questions here. When you disagree with a guest, what do you do? What's your process to keep on learning and not close doors? And 2, what happens if you get a bad guest that is boring? Do you still publish it?
Luckily, I haven't had too many bad guests that have been boring. There was a couple episodes, and I don't want to name any names, but a couple episodes were like, yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. They're not my favorite episode. The engagement's a little lower on them for sure. I've only had one podcast where I've recorded it and haven't published it, and that was because I was asked to by the company. I had 2 representatives of the company on, and it's I have it in a folder called Lost Episodes right now because it was a good episode too, and they shared some great ideas. But because one of the people that was on the podcast left the company, they asked me not to publish it. So I respected their wishes and didn't publish it. But so luckily I haven't come across that too much. In terms of disagreements, I definitely don't agree with everybody all the time. But I try to be fairly easy to get along with. So, I respect everybody's right to be wrong. I just try to kind of roll with it and share your point of view and try to keep it as lighthearted and entertaining as possible.
Disagreeing is fun when cortisol is not part of the mix,
Yeah.
The problem is when you have people pushing it too far or starting to be aggressive a little bit, then it gets less fun. And I guess that's the classic debating model, The goal of a debate is to have the upper hand on your opponent. It's not to win-win. I was thinking to organize my own debating podcast, but if I would, it would be 2 open minds, not trying to come up with a conclusion or agreeing with one another, but trying to learn, and trying to get the facts right. So they could search stuff on their computer. They could write down notes. Okay, I'm unsure of that. I'll just research it, and try to get smarter. I think is the goal of debates. I don't know why people converted debates in a win-lose thing.
Yeah, that would be a great title of the podcast, 2 Open Minds. I just think the world has gotten too on edge. You look at some of the controversies that have come up in the world lately with Bud Light and the Dylan Mulvaney thing. Jason Aldean and his song try that in a small town. And then there was another country artist, Tyler Childers, that everybody loved the song until they saw the video with two men in it. You know, whatever happened to just, I don't like that, I'm not going to listen to it. Or, you know, I don't like that, I'm not going to drink it. Like, you know, I personally didn't like the video for the Jason Aldean song, and so I just didn't listen to it. It's, you know, we have gotten to the point, I think, in the world where we're trying too much. We're too divided, and like you said, we feel like we have to win. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to not like something else. It's okay to think that, you know, what that person is doing is not right, or it's wrong, or it's, you know, not against it's against my values or my beliefs. But you know what? They're not killing anybody. Just don't do it. Just don't listen to it. Just don't engage with them. Just avoid it.
Right. Freedom is the keyword here. It's like this
Yeah,
video that
yep.
you're talking about, like instinctually, if I don't feel comfortable watching two men doing whatever, then fine. If I have the freedom to not see it, if you impose that in my feed, then I'll be like, if I'm a common mortal, at least I'll be like, why did you put that in my feed? Me, I would just push the button, not interested, and that's it, you know? I'm also
Just move
trying
on.
not to, yeah, I'm also not interested in any forms of drama. Every time my brain is like, yo, I need to see this, I try to not give him that candy and be like, no, we're not gonna see that. Sorry. Because I don't want to feed that inner drama. The only problems in society is when people try to impose their stuff on you. There can be some benefit to that if you're willing, right? If you accept that and you're open-minded and you're willing to change your views. So that's called growth. But when you do it too quick and too fast, people get pissed, you know, they get angry and they start fighting. Cortisol starts popping up, adrenaline, and all of a sudden it's a fight, you know, it's like I win, you lose. So
Yeah, and you don't even need to change your point of view. It's okay to not change your point of view, but it's okay to, but it's important to understand that somebody's going to have a different point of view. There's always going to be somebody with a different point of view.
obviously,
And so if, like you said, if you can have two open-minded people having a healthy debate about a topic, then, you know, that's productive. It's a good conversation about why I feel this way versus why you feel that way. And it will go somewhere. Whether you change the way you feel or the way I change the way I feel is really irrelevant at the end of the day. What's important is that I'm open to the way you feel and you're open to the way I feel. And like you said, it doesn't get heated. It doesn't get like, I'm not trying to convince you to, you know, come to the dark side, the dark side of the force. You know, it's just two opposite sides, and
there you go.
both are fine.
Well, Brad, thank you for coming on today. Where can people find out more about you?
Thanks for having me, Charles. People can reach me. Brad at CandidateHub.io is my email address. Always happy to have a conversation. Brad DiPaolo, DiPaolo, on LinkedIn, and CandidateHub.io is our website. Disrupting Recruitment is our podcast. Love to have more listeners jump on, see if there's anything you like that catches your attention. I'm pretty easy to find and track down, and I'm open to call. There's actually even on our website, if you go to the contact us page, there's a button to click and book right into my calendar just to have a conversation about anything. I don't care.
Love it.
If anybody ever wants to talk, just book time in my calendar. I'm open for it.
There you go. And I'm Charles Cormier, host of CEO Wisdom Podcast. If you want to scale a podcast, get invited to a podcast, or get sponsors on your old podcast,